Okay, so this next video is going to help us to calculate p-values from a t-test to look at the significant difference in each of our means and whether this is going to give us information about whether we accept or reject our null hypothesis. So, as we did in the past, we're going to make sure that we go into our data section of our spreadsheet. You can see up there we're going to click data analysis. So we've already downloaded that add-in, and we're going to scroll down until we get to t-tests. T-test we're going to use is a two-sample assuming equal variances. So you can only assess two samples with a t-test, so we would compare between sites. So that's why we're doing this particular one here. So we're going to click OK. Once again, it gives us our variable range, and it gives us a little toggle here to be able to select our data. So we're going to click here to select our data. The data we want for the first one is our first set of data that we want to use, so that's going to be site 1, because we're going to compare site 1 to site 2. And then we're going to highlight site 2. The last one we need to do is say where we want it to be put in our sheet, which is our output range. So we're going to put it down below all of this stuff that we've already done, so that we've got it as part of our sheet. So our output range at this point is going to be just below our information that we've got here. So we're going to select that cell. And then very simply, so we're not going to touch anything else here. We're going to leave it at 0.05, and then we're going to click OK. And it's giving us our information here about a t-test comparing two sites. So this is site 1 and this is site 2. And the information that we're concerned with is our p-value here for our two-tailed test. And we're going to highlight that so that we can come back to that afterwards. So we're going to go back up now, and I'm just going to repeat that so that we can compare site 1 and 3 and site 2 and 3. So data analysis. We're doing the t-test. We're going to select our values. Now we want to use site 1 again because we want to compare site 1 to site 3. So we're going to leave that as our first variable. And our second variable is just going to be site 3. Select where we want it to be placed in our spreadsheet. Just going to place it next to that last one and click OK. Once again, we want to just put in our information here, site 1 and site 3, so that we know that we're comparing site 1 to 3. Highlight our p-value, and then go back up to our last t-test. In this case, we're going to compare site 2 to site 3, which is already highlighted, and we're going to put the output just next to the last set of data, and there we have it. So now we've been able to compare site 1 to site 2, and we have a p-value for that. Site 1 to site 3, once again we have a p-value, and site 2 to site 3, and we have a p-value here. And what we're looking for there to be a significant difference between the means is for a value to be less than 0.05. So if the value is less than 0.05, we're going to reject our null hypothesis. If the value is greater than 0.05, we're going to accept our null hypothesis. So in the first case here, that value for our p-value here is less than 0.05, so we are going to reject the null hypothesis. In the second situation, where we're comparing site 1 and site 3, the value here is greater than 0.05. So in this case, we're going to accept the null hypothesis. We then go across to our last comparison between site 2 and site 3. We see here that the value there is less than 0.05. So once again, in this case, we're going to reject the null hypothesis. And that's going to help us to look at whether there is a difference in our results due to variance in sample error or just general variance, or whether the actual variance in our means is due to a variable that we are testing. For example, it may be due to the difference in site rather than due to just normal variation in sampling.